Welcome to Rosslair Security. My name is David Bramlett. I am the Technical Support Manager for Rosslair Security, US and Canada. Today we're going to talk about how to create networks and find panels for AxtraxNG software. To start with, we need to open up our Axtrax client. We'll go into the administrator, and our password is lowercase admin, A-D-M-I-N. Once our software opens up, there's a couple of things that we just want to double check and correct. As you'll see here, our date is incorrect. We need to set this to US English. We go to Tools, Options, and we change it from English to English USA. Okay. Now we want to go under AC Networks. We want to insert a new network, and we hit the plus sign. We have three different ways we can connect to a network. We can connect via serial, TCP/IP, or modem. In this demo, we're going to be connecting TCP/IP. We'll select it. We'll hit our configuration. Our software goes out and looks for the MAC address on the panel. The MAC address is located on the actual board itself. The top side, a white sticker with our MAC address on it. Mine happens to be the OC7D. These are all our lab switches that we have here, so that's why you see so many. Most often you will only see the one. When we are setting up our panel, we should make sure that we set our dip switches on the top right hand side for the speed. In most cases, you want to set your serial speed at either 9600 or 57.6. Mine, just for demo purposes, is set at 57.6. Most often you would want to set it at 9600, and that would be dip switches 1 and 2 in the down position. We can leave our port at 1000. We always want to verify that if we are using an IP board, that we set our gateway type to the MDIP32, or if we are using an MDN32 converter, we would change it to that. We always want to make sure that we go to our command prompt and we do an IP config, IPCONFIG, to verify what IPv4 or 6 address we are on. You'll see in this case that I am on 192.168.1, and that is the case that you'll find frequently. So you always want to make sure that you match your gateway to the PC exactly, your subnet to the PC exactly. The first three entries of your IP will be the same, and in our particular case, it has signed the IP address 227. We would just leave it in that. We hit apply to process this to the panel to give it its IP address. And if you do have multiple entries of MAC address, you always just want to double check. Our software will always come back and assign the top entry. In our particular case, mine was the OC7D. We want to highlight it, tell it OK. Here is where I can change my name of my network, something that's up to you whether you want to change it or not. I most often do so I can more easily track it. Then I can tell it OK. You'll see that my status went from disabled to OK, saying that I am connected on my test. Second thing that we need to do after we have found our network is we need to find the panel, which is actually the IP address. So we want to go under Table View. We want to go to the Find Panels icon, click on Find Panels, select Find Panels at the bottom of the screen. Our software will go out and take a look, and it will find the panel or the multiple panels that you have installed. You want to put a check mark to the left, hit add panels. Now if I had more than one, I would have had panel, network 1, panel 2, panel 3. They would have all came into my window. I hit add panels, and my panel now has been added. I have a new panel called network 1, panel 1, and you'll see right now that I have a download count. What the software is doing at this point in time, it is connecting to this panel via the software. It's initializing it, and what it will do is it'll set at this initialization for about 30 to 60 seconds, and then it will download the configuration that I have built to the panel. Once it's hit 0, then my panel is updated and I am connected. Always when you do a new install, you want to do a firmware update. To do a firmware update on our panel, you want to highlight the panel. You want to go under table view to your icons. Your last icon, the wreath, is a firmware update. Click on firmware update. You will see that the software automatically assigns the type of panel, which would be the correct firmware, and you would tell it OK. In our case, since mine is a test, it's already updated, but we're going to update it anyhow. Tell it OK again, and you will see a download count start at approximately 461. At this point in time, it's downloading the firmware into the panel. It'll go down to a 0, it'll pop back up to a 3, and it is reconnecting to the panel. It takes exactly 2 minutes for it to reconnect to the panel, and then you will see the download count increase to about a 20 and go back down to 0. At that point in time, it is downloading the configuration that we have built into the panel. One thing on the firmware for our software, as you saw, the software automatically assigns the firmware. When we load the software onto the PC, the software automatically downloads the firmware, the correct firmware for all of our different panels onto the hard drive. So it automatically has it there. You don't have to connect, you don't have to go look, and there's no firmware upgrade without a software upgrade on our AxtraxNG software. So at this point you'll see that we're sitting here at a 3, and that is the 2-minute connection of the client to the server. Once that ends, we'll do our up count and download our configuration. A couple of things just to point out while we're doing this, because we have a couple of minutes here, is always remember to do your backups. To do a backup, you go to Tools, Database, and you can do a backup now, or you can do an export configuration and events. Both are the same exactly. You'll want to hit browse and put it to wherever you want it to go. I always put my initial on my desktop so that I'll know where it is. You tell it OK, and it starts the backup. The backup will close our software. You'll get an icon come up. It'll tell you that the software is closing. You just need to tell it OK. It'll take approximately 30 seconds, and you'll see your backup icon come up on your desktop, and then at that point in time you can log back in your software and you have your backup completed. And we are still in the process of doing our connection. This 2 minutes always seems like a forever. And there it starts its download of the database or the configuration. Now I am complete. I'm talking to the panel. I'm getting my events, And just another quick test that you can do is to go to Door Open Manuals, open momentarily all of your doors, hit apply. You'll hear your relays click. It'll give you the notification that it succeeded, and you will get your events showing you that the doors are open. So with that, you will have a second verification that you are talking to your panel. This particular section will talk about adding a serial connection. We'll select serial. We have to know what COM port our MD14U is connected to, and we'll have to know our speed. In my particular case, we know that the speed is 57600. I have dip switch 1 and 2 in the up position, so now we need to go find out what COM port my MD14U is connected to. To find this, we need to go to our Windows Start button. There's a number of different ways you can get here, but you want to go to right click on your computer, go to Properties, go to your Device Manager, and we want to go to Ports. You'll see that I'm connected to COM port 6. Change this to COM port 6, tell it OK. Now you will see that my status is OK. It's my serial connection, and I always do want to give it a title so I'll know what it is. Tell it OK. Once I have created my network, then I need to find my panel as we did with the TCP/IP. So we will go to Table View, Find Panels, click on Find Panels, and at times it is more difficult to find a panel on a serial connection, or may take just a little longer than it does on a TCP/IP. It just kind of depends. So what we'll do is we'll let it run here for about 15 seconds searching for the panel. One way that you can always do a verification on your panel, whether it is software is talking to it and requesting, is if you look at the bottom right hand side of your panel, you'll see a red and green transmit receive light. The green receive should be blinking about once every 7 seconds if the software is getting to the panel and doing its request. You'll see that flash. Once we have found our panels, we put a check mark next to the panel itself. We do an add panel, and as it did with the TCP/IP, we are going to sit here and we're going to initialize. This is connecting to the panel itself, and it will take approximately 60 seconds for this to take place. This is David again. This is a continuation of finding networks and panels. One of the problems that we come across in our finding the panels is that we will go out, you will create a network. It's very easy to go out on the network and find the MAC address, but finding the panels can be difficult at times. So some of the things that we do when we are having a difficult time in finding a panel are, number one, we will change the serial speed. You should be set up most often at a 9600 on your serial speed, but occasionally you will find that you can't find the panel. You want to double check your dip switches to make sure 1 and 2 are down in that case, or in my case with 57.6, 1 and 2 are up. You want to make certain that your serial speed on the panel is the same set up in your software. That's one of the key components that we find. The second component that we find is if we go in and we start troubleshooting on this and we do an IP config, we will find often that people have forgotten to double check and make sure that their panel is exactly the same as the PC. So you always want to make sure your gateway is exactly the same. You always want to make sure your subnet is exactly the same, and you want to make sure your first three entries of your IP are exactly the same. And this is, you will not find a panel if those are not correct. Gateway type, always make sure that you're double checking to make sure that if it's an IP panel, it is the onboard. If it is a converter, the MDN32, that you select the MDN32. Another thing that you always can make sure of is you want to make sure that on your panel itself, on the bottom right hand side, you have an RS-232 to 485 switch. Most often we will need to be on the 485. So double check if you are using a network connection or if you are using a MD14U cable to connect. It always should be to the right on the RS-485. One of the other things that you can do is simply close the software and reopen the software, and at times this will help you find the panels. Another thing that we also do is we go to the task manager, we go to services, we will stop the Axtrax server and leave it stopped. Then we'll go down to the SQL server, Veritrax, which is the SQL that our software is installed on. We will stop and start it, and then we will come back up to the Axtrax server and restart it. One of the things that I didn't mention before that, you should close out your software, and so then you'll reopen it. With all of those troubleshooting aids, you should be able to find your panel. Hello, this is David again, and in this section of installing AxtraxNG software, we want to talk about panel definitions. The first thing that we want to talk about is doors. In order to go in and edit a door, we would double left click here in the column, or we could use the edit. Here we can give it a name. If for some reason we were not going to have a request to exit or a REX button, and we wanted to use the input for this particular reader, we could uncheck the REX button, and on this reader, reader number 1 of panel 1, my input now becomes an available input that I can send to do another project. First person delay is part of auto door open, which we will explain in one section. Auto door open is built by creating a time zone and an AC link. And with that AC link, my door would be open for that particular time zone, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and my lock would be unlocked from 8. It would close back at 5, so that the badges had to be used. A precaution that we have is that you can check first person delay on automatic unlock, and if it's a snow day, for instance, and it's a Monday and my door auto open should open at 8 o'clock, it will not open until the first person swipes their badge, fob, or PIN number. Very good security. Manual door open. If I uncheck manual door open and I go to my icon manual door open, which allows me to open or close all doors for X time frame, I won't see this particular door. This could be used for a number of reasons, but as long as you know it's there. Door output polarity simply is that I've normally got a strike, it's a normally open. For whatever reason I need to change that output, I can do so. Timers, door open time is standard door unlock, mag lock, strike, unlocked is 4 seconds. You can take that up to whatever time frame you need, up to 9 minutes and 59 seconds. Same with extended door time. Extended door time would be for handicapped or for the elderly, as we talked about earlier. Door held open and door forced open, you would of course have to have a external monitor on the door itself. Once we check this, this assigns for reader 1 input and output 1A to reader 1, and same with the forced door. That way they're working in unison to make sure that we monitor whether a door has been forced open or whether a door has been held open. You can have the lock relock if you do have that relay on your door. You can tell it to lock the door, auto lock it when the monitor is open, when the monitor is closed, or just leave it as none. Okay. On readers, to take a look at the readers, we again double left click on the left hand column. We can name, and it's always good to name the readers, and that is what you'll see come up in the definitions. If I have a in and an out reader on a door, I need to identify one as the in, one as the out. I can tell this reader not to open door 1. Door 1 reader is assigned to output 1 and input 1, but if for some reason I am going to do something like open a security door first so that a security guard could come out, there's a number of reasons that I would do that. I can check that, and then when I swipe my badge, it does not open output 1, but it does whatever my AC link would tell it to do. We do have a primary reader type and a secondary reader type. Our readers do not read multiple have multiple reader types. So in our particular case, using our readers, you would only use the primary reader type, but if there was someone that needed two different formats, we can set that up. If for some reason you want to only check a badge or a fob's facility code, you can check it here. You can go to facility codes and you can put whatever you want those facility codes to check, and you can do up to 4. Haven't seen a reason for that one yet. Operation modes on our readers. Inactive simply means that you will get nothing out of the reader. It is inactive. Card only means that do not have a pin on it. I'm going to only read card. Same with pin. I only read the pin number. I can do card or pin, or I can set it up in desktop mode. If I have something different, I have a card and someone else's readers and I don't know what those card numbers are, I can set my reader into desktop mode. I can go swipe my badge and I will see on events what the facility code and card number of that card are. I can do a no access, which does mean that the badge is swiped. I see the badge come up. I'll see access granted, but nothing will happen. I'll just get a no access out to the reader, and it doesn't open it. It just clocks, like clock in or clock out for time. Card plus card on door. If I have a highly secured area that I need a card plus card, a drug cabinet or something like that, then I would tell it that this is a card plus card, and it's going to take 2 people in a card plus card group to swipe in order for that door to open. Secured card plus pin. In some highly secured areas, you will want to have a card and pin access code. Governments will use these on a lot of occasions that you have to come in, you have to swipe your badge, then you have to put in your PIN number, and in order to get access. So that's what this would be. We talked about on the badges earlier that a subcontractor could be given a counter on the badge swipes. You do have to tell each reader that it is doing the count on that, and this is where you would do it. If you do have a pin pad on your reader, the ROS layers are always set up as 6-bit ROS layer. Of course, HID is 6-bit HID, but you would need to make sure if it is a card plus pin or card or pin that you tell it the proper. If you are setting up one of our biometrics AYC W6500s, the way to get this to come back up is just to simply change your primary reader type once, then you can check it and tell it that it is a 6500. The different options that we have are automatic anti-passback. I can assign this to a time zone, and this assigns all of my doors as a anti-passback. I can tell the software that if somebody uses a badge a second time without swiping on another badge, which is what anti-passback does, to do a hard access denied, which won't let the card in or be used again, or I can just have an alarm sent, or I can tell it to actually give it a time frame that once the second badge is swiped, it has to be 2 hours before it can go back to the same badge. Access events, I can do a pop-up. When I swipe a badge and I want to see who's coming into my building, I can assign that person a picture, and when I do the pop-up, I will get a pop-up on the screen. I can close that by a timer, and here's the time frame that you would use, or I can force it manual if I'm a more secured area. I can get the same pop-ups on denied, recorded, or logged. Inputs, these are all of our inputs. You can, of course, name your input. You can tell it whether it is a open or normally open, normally close, or you can put resistors on it to identify that, and you can have a start delay for a number of things like door forced open, door held open. Outputs, there's not a lot you can do except rename your outputs. AC links. AC links are used for a number of things, but primarily an AC link is a input to an output, software driven. So we have talked about forced door and held door open. If I want to set up a forced door forced open on door 1, I would select door, I would select the door 1, I would choose forced open, and then I could do my output of what I want to happen. So I could tell it I want it to be a sounder, a bell that sounds, and I could turn it on. And if I tell this OK, then I've created a output, an AC link, that when my door is forced open and it does not see a badge swipe or it does not see a Rex button, it will sound an alarm. We will cover the other variations of AC links that we have, and primarily the one that everybody wants to know is a forced door open, and I'll cover that really quick. Excuse me, okay. One of the things that everyone calls in about is a auto door open. An auto door open is created by creating a time zone and by creating an AC link. The AC link is set up as an output. You select the source that would be the door 1, 2, 3, or 4, or you could use output 1A to unlock a maglock strike if you wanted to, or 2A. You could set those up. It's always set up as an automatic operation, which locks in our destinations, our operation, and then the only thing you have to do then is to select the time zone. We at this time haven't created our time zone, so there's not one in there, but I tell it OK, and I have created an automatic operation that will unlock my output 1, my door 1, on this time zone. That's all we have at this time for our panels. Hello, this is David again, and this is a continuation of our document here on installing AxtraxNG software. This time we're going to be talking about adding users or credentials. And the first step will be adding multiple users, 25, 50, 100 at a time. We would select our users group, go up to our insert users and cards, and what you will see here is that we can add our quantities up to 1,000. We can look at the card itself, and on the bottom right hand side of the card you'll see a 3-digit number, which is your facility code, a comma, and then a 5-digit number, which is your card number or start from. In my particular case, I have a group of 25 cards, and my first card number is 55859. My facility code is 26. Now, if I had created departments before, I could select what department I want all of these to go into, or if I had created my access group, I could select that. We haven't done those yet. We'll do those at a later time, but you could create those first and go ahead and install them. Any of our cards, the Ross Lair cards, will be Wiegand 26-bit. We click on OK. Our cards are installed in the card section and also in the general section. The card section, there's nothing you can do to the card. You can only make changes under the general format. If we take a card, user number 1, double click on it, you'll see that this is where we could put our first name, our last name. We can tell it what department we want it to go into, which we haven't chose yet. We could put it in car park group. We could put it in access group, which we'll talk about later, and we could put it into a card plus card group. The valid date, if this is checked, the valid date would be used for subcontractors. I have a subcontractor coming in, it's going to work for 2 days. I would check my valid date, and I would start it at 0800 and I would end it at 1700 on Friday tomorrow. And with this checked, the badge, card, PIN number would be good until this time. At that time frame, the card would be turned to inactive, and that badge would not be able to be used from that time until there was some manual intervention done. You can do the same thing with the counter. If you want to enable counter and you want to give this person 2 swipes, 3 swipes, whatever it may be, you can do it there. Access granted commands, we'll talk about those. Those will be used in AC links that we want something specific to happen if this badge is swiped, and we can use access denied also. We can classify this person as a handicap, and we can also put this person in an output group, which most often is used for a elevator control. You can add a photo to anybody so that when they swipe their badge, We can turn it on under the panels themselves, and we can turn it on and have a pop-up screen each time someone comes in. Anti-passback immunity: if you do build anti-passback into your software, then you could set it up where this user has immunity to it. It does not affect them. We do have extended door time. A person is elderly and needs the door open time to be open longer. I can extend that. I can have this person assigned to their badge activate or deactivate our HLX system. And then I can also create this person to auto open one or all doors for a security type issue. Codes, as we had talked about before, this is the first user. This was my first card number. If I wanted to add give this person a PIN number, I could add the PIN number here and tell it OK. If I don't know what PIN numbers I want to use, I can do an auto PIN, and then I can also do multiples. If I want to give this person a duress PIN code, which would sound some type of an alarm or send some type of internal external alarm, I could put that PIN code in here. We would have to build an AC link with that in order to make that work. A second way to put in a badge is that we could simply put in the facility code, and we could put in the card number, tell it OK, and that card will be added to both the card section and to the general section. We now have our user built. Thank you. Hello, this is David again, Rossler Security. This is a continuation of installing AxtraxNG. This time we're going to talk about timing. The first section under timing is time zones. To create a time zone, we highlight time zones. We hit our green plus insert. We would give it a title. Open door seems to be one of the things we use this for a lot. Then to create the time zone for Monday through Friday 8 to 5, I would left click and highlight, drag from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I would right click, create, and I have created the time for Monday. If I do need to modify this, I can right click in properties and I can do the 15 minutes or whatever change that I need to do. Now I have my open door time zone, and if I do need to modify it, I can double left click, and again I can go to properties, right click and go to properties, and I can change that in any way that I want to do it. Holidays. The reason that we would set up holidays is most often again for auto door times, but to create a holiday we would use the green insert again. Christmas is of course one that we always have here, and you want to be careful not to have multiple holidays the same name. This can create problems. So if you do have 2 days off, it would want to be Christmas Day 1 and then the second be Christmas Day 2. You need to enable it, drop it down, move your calendar to the 25th, and every year we do have a holiday of 12/25, so we tell it new and we've created our holiday. Our next topic that we want to discuss is groups. Under groups we have access groups, we have access areas, We have output groups, we have input groups, and then we have card plus card groups. An access group is what we use if we want to restrict a user from being able to use a particular reader or to restrict them using a reader during a time zone. So under access groups, we would hit our green insert, we would give it a name, and then we have to do the green plus a second time. Highlight our new access group, hit our green plus. Now we will see that the available readers. If you had 20 readers, you would see them all. So what you would do for an access group, you would select the reader that you want this person or this group of people to be able to use. You would select the time zone. It can be always, or it can be a specific time zone. Now by selecting this, the people in test will be able to use reader 1, but they'll only be able to use reader 1 on this time zone, which was set for Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. An access area is used primarily for anti-passback, and so we will not at this time cover that. We'll cover that under anti-passback. Output groups are used for a number of things. Primarily we use those for elevators, and how you create an output group is you would again hit your green plus, insert, and I would then select my outputs that I want this group to be in. And in this particular one, I want this person in this output group, when they swipe their badge, I want to be able to open door 1, door 2, output 1A, and output 2A. Output 1A is going to my elevator, floor 1. Output 2 is going to elevator, floor 2. And I just because want to open door 1 and door 2. So I do want to give it a name. I'm going to call it elevator, and I'm going to call it test. So when I assign a person to elevator test or to an output group, then I will open all my doors and all my outputs. An input group we never really use. Basically it's the exact same thing except it's for inputs. So if I had some reason that I wanted to send something to my inputs, I would do that. It's the same as creating an output group. Card plus card group, all I'm going to do here is give it a name, and from that then I would put people into that card plus card group so that the software would know when I am assigned to it that that I have a badge that can be used in the card group and that it is looking for a second person to swipe their badge. A question that we get frequently is, how do I set an auto door open? An auto door open being I have a front door, I want that door to open every Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 so that we do not have to use a badge, and it is not explained well in our documentation. The way to do this is it's a two-step. Number one, you would create a time zone, which we just covered in the section before on how to create a time zone. Then we would create an AC link. To create an AC link, we would hit the green plus to insert. Source type for an auto door open is output. We would choose door 1, door 2, or we could even choose output 1A or 2A if we had just a lock and didn't have a reader on it and just wanted to open that door, we could use that output. In this case, we'll choose door 1. We'll choose automatic operation. Destination type with this gets locked. Destination's locked. Operation is locked. And then all I have to do from there is choose my time zone and make sure that it's enabled. Tell it OK, and you can see at the bottom here that I've created it, and you can hear your relay open as soon as that happens. To verify it, you would just go to highlight your panel, and now you can see that my status is open and that I have created that link. One of the other things that we do suggest if you create an auto door open is that you go to your door, you edit, you go to your door and you edit, and you check first person delay on automatic unlock. This will ensure if for some reason people can't get in, primarily snow days, that it's a Monday and we have auto door open, that the auto door open time zone won't take effect until a badge is read or a PIN number is put in. And once that's done, then it goes into the time zone, but until that, it keeps it locked. Next discussion is car parking. Car parking is a very nice feature. It can be used for multiple different issues that we would have, but primarily it is for a parking garage. If I had a parking garage and I only have 20 of the 30 slots that are there, I can set up a car parking to where I restrict my people to only 10 that can be in there at a time. In order to do this, I have to have a in reader and an out reader. And then the first step that I have to do is I have to create an access area. By creating an access area, I'm saying this is my in reader, this is my out reader. And then when I create my car park, this is test park 1. I'm going to use the access area that I just created. It's going to be checked by access area, and the maximum I'm going to let into that group at any time is going to be 10 people. So once I have a person swipe their badge that is assigned to this car parking test park 1 group, and I have 10 people swipe their badge and go into parking, when the 11th person tries to swipe their badge, they will not be able to get in. They'll be restricted. Once one person leaves and swipes their badge on the output, then another person can come to the input badge and swipe, and then we'll be able to get into the parking lot. Our next discussion is card design. We can, with the AxtraxNG software, print a card. The first thing that we have to do is build our card design. And to do that, as everything else, we hit our green plus. We call this one test 1. For design, it's depending on how you want it to be set up. I believe that most are a portrait. And you can specifically define a card if you want to. Most of ours are the ID card. To design it, all I do is drag over what I want to be on my card, a card number, a title, and a department, and we'll leave it with that. And I tell it OK, and I have now defined my test card design. In order to generate a card, I would go back to my users under users, department users, general. I would highlight myself, hit print card, select the card design that I want to use. I can see that everything is set up. Do a print preview, and I can see everything that's going to be in there. I don't have a picture at this time, so the picture is not in there, but if you assign a picture, then it will work. Hit my print, send it out to whichever printer I'm going to be using, my Fargo or whatever it may be, and from that I have done a card design and printed a badge. This is David again. Our next discussion is status map. Status map on the AxtraxNG only gives you a icon of your doors, your readers, whatever you may want, and the only thing that you can do is when you set it up, you can actually monitor or see when a reader or a door is open. How we go about this is that we hit our green insert, we come up with status map 1, we'll give it a name. I go to the page, I right click, and I set a background. I have one that I've used several times here in my testing. I choose a GIF, and it is the quad map. So I've just thrown in a design here and I save it. Okay. In order for me to put my readers or doors, and most often it would be readers, I go under my panel to my readers and I add reader 1 and I add reader 2. Now I can go back to my map, and I have my readers here that I can put into position as to where they are on my map. I right click on it, I show it on map, I tell it OK, and now once I am out of design mode, I can actually pull up my map, and when my reader is opened, I will see the reader open, I'll see a green light, and it would be good for security guard or something like that. Our next discussion is operators. Operators are our login, passwords, username, and passwords. As everybody's seen, we use administrator and admin for the password. As you can see, administrator has all rights. If I wanted to add another user, I would simply hit my green plus sign to insert a new user. I would go through here and select what I want this person to have the ability to do. For events, to read only, to modify, or none. And I would go down through the list and decide what I wanted them to be able to do. I would create a password of, there is no current password. I would create a new password that is test. I would confirm test, tell it OK, and OK. Now I have a new user. That user is only going to be able to read, not modify anything on the AxtraxNG, and they will be able to log in under test with the password test. Hello, this is David, and our next topic is reports. Under our report section, we do have immediate reports. Two basic reports, but very good. The first is who's been in today. So we can generate this report, and what it will tell us is exactly who has come into the office today, And as you can see, I just swipe my badge and I'm the only person that has come in. It will tell who the person is, what time, and what reader they came into. The other is last known position. This would be for something like a fire alarm or something like that. You could generate this report and I would see exactly where everybody was on their last read, so that if I needed to go back for some kind of an emergency situation, I could find where that person was last. Those are two very good reports. Archive reports are basically that. They are archives. There's two primary reports that we use, and the first being it's a panel events report and an attendance report. Now the attendance report only works, and it is just a generic attendance report, only works if you have a in and out reader assigned, so that when a person comes in, they swipe the in. When a person leaves for the day, they swipe the out. If you have that, it's a very nice little generic report. Now we won't open that one up because we don't have that set. But the primary one that we use for it, that everyone wants to know, is they had some vandalism, they had somebody break in, they had something stolen, and they want to find out who did it. Or they think somebody broke in, they think they know who it is, and they want to find out when. So what we do in this case is we would select the individual, we would select all of the people in the group, and to monitor it, in this case, since I'm the only one that swiped on this one, we'll choose David. I only want to see access granted. I can name the report anything I want it to. I can send it out in 3 different formats, and I can save it to wherever I want to. I hit my next, and I want to know in the last X amount of days, in the last X amount of months, or a specific range, which most people do use. I hit finish, and here's my report showing everybody that used that reader in the past 7 days, which there would only be for today because we built this today. But it's a very nice report. It's one people use. Please just make sure and go through and just take a look at all of the reports, and that is all. One of the last things that you'll want to do after you've completed your software is to make sure that you do a backup. I would always recommend to do a backup and put it on the PC, and then do a second backup and put it on a thumb drive and remove it from the PCs. We get daily calls that a PC has crashed and they can't recover the information, and they have to go back and rebuild the software completely. So the way to do a backup is we would go to Tools, Database. We would do a backup now. You can leave it at the folder it has it assigned, or in my case I always like to put it on the desktop so I know where it's going, and then I tell it OK. Our software always closes out when you export, backup, or import software. It has to do that in order to reconnect, and you will always see it. It takes about 30 seconds to 60 seconds for that to complete. You can open up your watchdog, and you will see when it's ready, you will see your networks and your panels. And again, it takes approximately 30 to 60 seconds for this to happen. Often we get calls, as this is now ready. Often we get calls that it says that it can't do a backup, or you do the backup and nothing happens, or you do the import and nothing happens. And the problem to this about 100% of the time is that the SQL database is not set to local. The way that we set a SQL to local is we go to the bottom of the screen, we right click, and we start Task Manager. From there we select Services, and then we go down to the bottom and select Services. When we get a list of our files, we go to our SQL database. If for whatever reason you added a different name to it, you would go to that one. In our case, our software installed it, so it puts it in as Veritrax. You double left click on it to open this up. You go to your log on tab, and what you'll see most often is this account is checked. You need to put it in local system account. You'll tell it to apply, and you'll tell it OK. Once you've done that, then you need to restart the service. So you just would leave it highlighted, go to restart, hit your restart button, and from there, if you haven't closed out your Axtrax software, close it out and reopen, and then from that point you will be able to do your import or export. Thank you. At this time, I would like to talk about adding a client. We have previously installed a client and server on our primary PC, and at this time we would have people who want to have additional users on different PCs on the same local area network. All we have to do in order to make this happen is have our AxtraxNG software. Needs to be the exact same version as our client server PC. In this case it is 23.04, and you just need to load the client only, nothing else. When you double click on your Axtrax client, you will see that it comes up and it is asking for an IP address. That IP address is the IP address of your primary server client PC. In my case, it's 192.168.1.100. You can leave it at the same port, tell it OK, and as you can see, I have now logged into my primary PC. If I put in my password for my internal Rosslayer system, I will log in and I will have views of that system. One of the things that you will want to check is if you're having problem logging in, you'll want to go to our website again, www.axtraxng.com, and you'll want to go to configure a firewall. Larry has created a very nice document here on how to go in and configure a firewall. Basically, you're going to go to Control Panel and you're going to go to your Windows Firewall. You're going to allow a program or feature, and you simply want to verify that I have a check mark on my Axtrax client, and this is allowing a program to communicate through the Windows Firewall. You would need to do this on both this PC and your server client PC. Thank you.